This movie is 3 hours long. What's up, everybody? Today I'm here to review It Chapter 2. I just got out of the movie theaters and it's very fresh in my mind, and this will be a non-spoiler review, so it's basically just my overall thoughts, and perhaps you can make a decision if you want to watch this film or not. So let's get started. I'm gonna start with the positives, and that would be the cast. I think that if you love the first film and the Losers Club, they're all back in their adult form. So the movie takes place 27 years after, and I think that they chose these characters perfectly. They really look like their younger selves, but I think the spotlight was definitely stolen by Bill Hader. He plays Richie, and he was hilarious. Like, Richie was my favorite character actually in the other chapter, and it was played by Finn Wolfhard. This this adult version of Richie is just as hilarious as the younger version. I really enjoy him, and his interaction with Eddie, who now is played by James Ransom, it was hilarious. Now let's talk about James Ransom. He plays Eddie, right? And he was basically, again, I was so impressed with this casting because he got the mannerism of Eddie, that was played by Jack Dylan Grazer, perfectly. It was like those two characters were probably the best in my opinion. The funniest, their interactions was hilarious to watch. And then also the other characters also have their shining moments. I think James McAvoy is a great actor. It's always fun to watch him, and he plays Bill. Then we have Jessica Chastain playing Beverly. I'm reading their names here. And then we have Asaya Mustafa playing Mike. And that's the Old Spice guy, and he's actually a good actor. I want to say that, And the thing is that I was a little bit distracted by his voice because I always remember him doing the commercial. But yeah, great actor. I did not expect that. And then we have Jay Ryan playing Ben, the adult Ben, and then we have Andy Bean playing Stanley. And of course we cannot forget Pennywise himself, played by Bill. I'm not even gonna try his last name. So he is Pennywise It. So let's see. So I believe that the movie started off interesting, then it got a little bit boring, and then it was like, okay. So my first impression is that in comparison to the first chapter, this is very weak. So I was definitely prefer the first chapter. However, there's a lot of interesting things here to watch, but this movie is 3 hours long, and I really did not think it needed to be that long because it felt that long. Like, it's not like Infinity War or Endgame, those long films that you don't really feel it because of the action, because of all of this. On this film, you actually feel that it's so long, especially they rely so much on jump scares and not giving you more, like horror films. Okay, if you watch horror films, you know that jump scares happens all the time, but if you rely too much on just jump scares and not really on the story and revealing the mysteries of the story, it just becomes like, okay, I'm scared, oh, whatever, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of that. I think that the plot was very confusing as well, so it suffered in pacing. The storytelling wasn't that great. Didn't really like that, but the acting was good. Some of the CGI was good. Some of the creatures were really good. But this movie is not scary at all. I'm a kind of person that I'm very scared of watching horror films, and I was watching this film, and because all the elements and all like the whatever monster was appearing or illusion, whatever, looked so cartoonish, it felt more like I was watching a Tim Burton film, and not really like a horror film. There was no part whatsoever that I was like terrified. So that's the one thing that I wish it would be a little bit different, because it's fun to go watch the horror film and go, oh my God, I'm scared. I didn't feel that way. Like I said, the best part is when the Losers Clubs are together, but there's a big chunk of the film that they are apart doing their own little thing, and that's where the movie is suffering pacing a little bit, because it's so long, and not all of that is happening is that interesting to watch. Now, the CGI. Now, if you know if you watch the other chapter, right, the first chapter, it's basically just the kids. But now this movie is being shot, I think it was shot like last year or not long ago, but the kids grew up. And because they're dealing with a lot of flashbacks, the kids are not a lot in this film, but they're still dealing with a lot of flashbacks from things that happen in the other chapter. But the kids, you know, when you're 12, 13, when you're 12, you look one way. When you're 13, you're completely different. So that is a problem with child actors. They change very fast. And so they had to do a de-aging effect on the kids, and it was terrible. It was just so distracting. Especially on Finn Wolfhard, because he's the one that probably like looked the most different than his younger self, and so did Ben, the character of Ben that is played by Jeremy Ray. So they had to CGI their faces, and it was just terrible. It was very distracting. It was not very good. It was not like, it would have been better if they had just kept the actors the way they were, because even though they look a little bit older, it would have been less distracted than doing that awful CGI. Now here we go, Warner Bros. and CGI problems again. So that was actually the worst part in the film. I was like, man, it's so good to see these kids back together again, but why do we have to CGI their faces to de-age like that? It doesn't look right. I didn't like that very much. Also, the ending of this film, it was nice to see the chapter come to an end, but it was an ending that did not impress me at all. I was like, okay. I think it's gonna be very forgettable. But and also I was very surprised that the movie is very funny, even funnier than I thought it would be. I mean, like I said before, I was expecting this to be a horror film, but it's kind of like making fun of horror. Like everything was just funny, and there's a lot of gross things as well. But yeah, I believe that's about it. If I dig in more, I'm probably gonna get into the spoilers, which I don't want. It's just kind of my overall thoughts. There is a cameo that came as a complete surprise to me, so that was a good part of the film. I love that. But should you go watch this film? I would say, well, if you've seen the first chapter, you probably want to see how this ends. So yes, go watch the film. But if you're not in a hurry and you just want to watch this later, I'd say you're not losing much. You can still do that, especially because the film is so long, and it's just, I would say okay. So let's say out of a 10, I would give it a 6.5, so a little above average. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but I just thought that some of the parts were really boring. Some of the things could be cut out. There's a lot of stuff that is just unnecessary. They could have gotten to the point much faster. But yes, that's pretty much my thoughts. I would love to know if you saw it. If you did, drop your comments below. Did you like it? Did you feel like me? Do you think that the ending was a little bit disappointing? Share your thoughts down below. If you enjoy my review, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Bye.